Canterbury goat and cattle farmer Ev Moorhead and daughter Anna run Gruff Junction, an award-winning goat's milk cheese business that they began in 2006. Gruff Junction cheeses are well known throughout New Zealand. They've won loads of national cheese awards and enjoy a steady demand in the local market.
We've got about 70 acres and about 200 goats, and we've always got some cattle. We have a bit of spare milk, so we feed bobbies, and we take them through to about 15 or 16 months. A good combination between the goats and the cattle, but no sheep. The sheep can carry parasites which are directly transmissible to the goats. They reckon there's about 95% don't transfer with cattle. So the cattle come and they mop up after the goats have been grazing a paddock and open the pasture up a bit more, let a bit more sunshine down in to kill any worm eggs, and the pasture's in a better recovery mode. Goats just graze the top and they don't like grazing right on down. So it is necessary to have a balance. Either that or you've got to do a lot of topping. Most people know that the origin of goats, they're nomads. And they take a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of your shirt. In amongst all of the goodness that they're looking, notably protein and carbohydrate, they're also looking for minerals. And that's why they chew on so many things. You'll never leave a bike or a vehicle anywhere where they can chew, particularly the copper they go for. When you put them in a paddock that hasn't got any other vegetation other than grass and clover, they'll nip the tops out of it. And if you ask them to eat a bit more tomorrow, they'll take it down a bit further. So they graze in a layer. Now that's quite different from cows or sheep. Essentially they're pasture fed. That's the bulk of their food is from that. Of course all the minerals can't be given that way. So in this dairy, each goat gets a measured amount of minerals. Copper, cobalt, zinc, iodine and selenium in particular, mixed in with molasses and some flax meal that's had the oil pressed out of it, all mixed up with molasses, so they'll walk on water to get the molasses. So that fixes their mineral needs, but that on its own is no good. They've got to have some forage as well.
I actually started off with a degree in microbiology at Canterbury, never planning to make cheese with it. Went and got a job at Crop and Food Research at Lincoln, then retrained as a primary school teacher. Ended up in England, at what point Dad needed to do something with his goat's milk other than pasteurised milk. So I had a hunt around England, got a job as a cheesemaker, and here I am making cheese 8 years later. We have a dry season through the winter where we can do maintenance things or marketing, travelling around the country. Then there's the make season between September and April where it's all full on. We make 15 different varieties of cheese. We've got to make cheese, we've got to make it well, we've got to try and make it consistently, healthy, safe for the public. Then we've got to sell it, market it nationwide. We've even had a go at Australia. We've got a variety of markets. We sell a lot through our local farmers market at Littleton. That's great. They give us a lot of feedback so we know what we're doing right and what's not right in the eyes of the public. Then we have the chefs, which we sell to in bulk and they use it in their menus. And we also supply a variety of retail outlets throughout the country. First thing in the morning, Dad cooks up the pasteurised milk in the little batch pasteuriser. Through comes the milk, then we add the culture. Wait for an hour for that to incubate, and then we add the rennet, wait for that to set, and then it's cutting the curds. It's the experience of knowing how your own milk behaves and the variations that you get between each cheese variety you want to make. They're just small changes, but they can make a big difference to the end product. When I worked in England in the cheese factory, that was a little cow cheese factory, I found that the recipes you use can be exactly the same, but it is going to end up a little bit different with goat's milk. Texture-wise, that can be different. But the biggest thing I think is you need to handle the milk more carefully than with cow's milk. If you're too rough with goat's milk, you'll release the volatile fatty acids and you can get a goatier flavour than you would otherwise. With goat's cheese, making the soft mould-ripened ones have been the most interesting. Hard cheeses, they're sort of a safer cheese to make because you make it, you're not likely to sell it for at least 3 months and maybe not even for a couple of years. So if you've got excess milk, hard cheese is the way to go. But there's a lot of creativity with the soft mould ripened, and you can make all manner of things, funny little wrinkly, ugly things by maybe many Kiwi standards. But I've got quite a cheese library and I love looking through those in the winter thinking, oh, what can we make in the spring? Food Safety Authority is never all that straightforward, and lucky for me I was overseas when Dad put the food safety program together. We hired a consultant who has been absolutely invaluable to us and still is. Every year we have the audit, which is mandatory. It's always a nerve-wracking time, even though we do run a pretty tight ship, but the power that the Food Safety Authority has does make you a little nervous every year. So we do our best to cross all our T's and dot all the I's. Our little cheese factory was originally built just to bottle pasteurised milk for the supermarket, so it is quite small, as you can see. In our biggest year we produced 6.2 tonne of cheese in this little room, so it's cosy. This cheese we named Darfield. It's our commemorative earthquake cheese. After the earthquake struck in 2010, I had a colleague at the time whose house fell down and she was pretty miserable about it, as you'd expect, wanted to do something nice. So we created this. We put a layer of ash in the middle that symbolises the fault line, and once the finished product of this, it grows a white mould rind like a camembert or brie, and it actually hides that fault line and you don't see it until you cut through the cheese. And just as a bit of a coincidence, when you do cut through it, the knife drags on the ash and it creates a seismograph effect. We won the most original New Zealand cheese in 2013 for this one.
This program was made with funding from New Zealand On Air.